thunderstorm outside?
It's those pearls, Mr. Simpson.
I am the noblest lady of the court, second only to the queen. Yet I am the saddest of mortals in France.
Why, what is the matter, milady?
I'm so downhearted, Teresa. My father has me betrothed to the Baron de Lansfield, and I can't stand him.
Oh, it is such a match. Why, all the ladies of the court wish they were in your pretty shoes.
My heart belongs to another. Pierre de Vitali. Ever since I met him, I can't get him out of my mind.
Sounds good and loud, huh?
Oh, Pierre, you shouldn't have come. You were flirting with danger. They will surely find you out. Your head is much too valuable.
She never could remember where the microphone was, boss.
'Tis Cupid himself that calls me here. And I, bitten by his arrow, was obliged to press down.
The night is full of our enemies.
Hey, Lena, what you hitting him with, a blackjack?
Idiot.
Oh, Pierre.
I love you. 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 I love you.
Did somebody get paid for writing that dialogue?
Sounds like a comedy inside.
It's a Lockwood Lamont talkie.
What?
This is terrible.
No, come on. What's that?
The sound. It's out of synchronization.
Well, tell them to fix it.
Yes, sir.
What's this? Yvonne? Captured by Rouge Noir, the purple terror? Oh, my sword! I must fly to her side. Yvonne, my own.
Pierre will save me. Pierre.
Pierre is miles away, you witch.
No, no, no.
Yes.
No, no, no.
Yes. No.